Alright, so welcome to Bass Kicking Videos. This is actually my first video that I'm making. I'm pretty excited about doing it. Haven't never shot a video before or edited a video, so bear with me in the beginning, but wanted to put some videos together just for some educational purposes, just to kind of spread the knowledge. I've learned a lot of fishing. Probably been fishing now for about 25 years or so, maybe even longer, and the cool thing about fishing is that every year that I fish, I learn something new about it. This year alone, I learned how to drop shot, and I've caught my first drop shot fish, which is so exciting. So I wanted to do this just kind of to spread the knowledge. I know there's a lot of videos out here on all the things I'm going to be talking about, but if you like them, and if 5 people see this and learn how to maybe Texas rig, and put that into their repertoire and catch fish on it, then it's totally worth it. And I'm having fun doing it anyway, so this is going to be cool. So today we're going to do a little video just on Texas rigging. It's probably one of my top 3 go-to techniques is Texas rigging. I love to do it for a lot of different reasons. I think one, though, because it's so versatile. If you're fishing on a budget and you don't have a lot of rods and you're fishing from the coast, and a lot of these videos are going to be geared around people who are fishing more on coastal waters and not on boats. I don't own a boat yet. I do a lot of my fishing in ponds and my local lake here and some lakes around me, but I do a lot of the fishing from the coast, so a lot of my videos are going to be kind of based around just fishing from the land and not from your boat. And there's differences for sure, but also fishing on a budget. Fishing's expensive, and if you can only afford 1, 2 rods, you should really get your most money out of each one and each technique, so you're not retying a lot and going through all that. So a lot of these videos are going to kind of be based around stuff like that. I bring like 4 rods with me, but like I said, I've been fishing for a while, and some of them I've had for about 15 years. But if you only have 1 or 2 rods, that's great. Get out there and fish. If you have 1, I started off with 1 rod, and here I am. I got a couple, but nowhere near some of these guys out there with 20, 30 rods. So a lot of times when you only have 1 rod, you really have to utilize that rod a lot more for different techniques. So that's why I like Texas rigging, because I can change up my baits so frequently. The colors, the different styles of baits. You can do worms, Senkos, amazing baits, Senkos, fish killers, trick worms. Today I'm probably going to fish this. These are zoomed at 10.5. Big worms, big swirly tail, love these, do really well with these in the summer. Probably going to fish this today later. Hopefully after we talk about Texas rigging a little bit, we'll go down to the lake and see if we can get into some fish. But really, worms alone, right here, there's 3 different kinds of worms, and all of these come in like 40,000 different colors. So you can take 1 rod, Texas rig it, you can go down to your local pond or lake, and you can try so many different varieties of different worms and different colors, and that's what I like so much about it. Creature baits too. We got brush hogs, awesome Texas rig. Lizards, another thing, awesome. Zoom makes these. A lot of companies are making these right now. Creature baits, little beavers. I kill it on these beavers here at my lake. All these can be on a Texas rig. So once you learn how to Texas rig, really you can go with 1 rod and you can bring like 20 different bags of soft plastics and just fish it on 1 technique, and it's awesome. So that's why I like the Texas rig. So we're going to do this video today on some Texas rigging. I'm just going to show you how you set up the hook, kind of the line, weights, everything else. We'll do a couple close-ups. So I hope you like this, and then later we'll go out on the lake and see if we can get into some fish. So this is how you set up a Texas rig. Really all you need is 2 things. You need an offset hook and a bullet weight. And you don't really even need the bullet weight. You can actually Texas rig weightless. But the real common way to do it is with a bullet weight. So to get to the hook, I use a 3/0 offset hook, and by meaning offset, you can see it has a little offset channel right there in the hook, and a bullet weight kind of looks like the top of a bullet. This is, like I said, a 3/0. There's a lot of different companies that make 3/0s and offset worm hooks. It's a real common thing. Really, any of the brands out there are going to be fine. Don't chintz with your hooks. It's really one of the cheapest parts of fishing, and a really sharp hook makes the difference in catching fish and losing fish. So if you're going to spend some money and you don't want to spend a lot of money on fishing, if you're going to spend $2 on a hook or $3 on the hook, the extra dollar might go a lot longer with these hooks than anything else in your tackle box, and something that I've learned and I really go true. So these are owners. They're a little bit more money, but they have amazingly strong hook, and they're very sharp. So I've got my offset hook here, and I've got my weight. I also use tungsten. You can use lead weights as well. They're just a little bit bigger. Tungsten is a very heavy metal, so you can get a lot more weight out of a smaller weight. Because this is a weedless application, Texas rigging, that's one of the best parts of Texas rigging. The one thing that might get hung up on weeds will be your weight, so the smaller the better when it comes to that. So if you want a smaller one, I would go with the tungsten. So how do you put the bait on? Very easy. It takes a little time in the beginning, but once you get it, it's really easy. And like I said, the beautiful thing about this is you can use so many different baits. You can use these brush hogs. You can use any kind of worm. And once you learn how to Texas rig, then you can change up all these different applications just by using this hook and that bullet weight. So what you want to do is you want to find either the worm or the brush hog, and you just want to go in about a ½ an inch through the top of whatever the bait is, and then you want the tip of the hook to come out the bottom of the bait, right in the middle, and that's very important to try to line up the middle and not to the right or left. Try to get it as most in the middle as possible. That'll make a better action for your lure later. And I just, if you can see there, I'm just about maybe a ½ an inch to the top. I slide that to the top of the hook where the offset part of it is, turn the hook around, and then guide it to the top. So that little piece that's offset now is inside of the actual bait. Okay? You see that? And the hook is on the bottom. The tip of the hook, the pointy part, is at the top of the bait. Then I want to line it up on the bait. I usually stick my thumb there just to kind of feel where it's going to be. If you can see that, see where my thumb is? That's where the hook would naturally go in. And then I take the hook and go through where my thumb is, again in the middle of the bait, and come out the top of the bait. Okay? Very important. That's how you do it. And you want that to be in the middle and that to be in the middle and as straight as possible. Now to make it weedless, all you have to do is you pull forward on the bait, the plastic, just a little bit, and just bury the tip just slightly inside the plastic. I'd probably do that just a little bit more on that one. Okay, so what's going to happen now is this is going to be in the water, and the fish is going to come from either behind or on top. They're going to bite down on the bait, and when they do, that's going to push the hook open out, and that's what's going to allow you to set your hook. But when you're running through weeds, that tip now is weedless. You can see that won't nip me at all or grab any weeds. Okay, so that's basically a Texas rig. So you can do that on a brush hog. I'll show you really quick on a worm. Same idea. You take the top of the worm, go down about a ½ an inch, out the bottom of the worm. Okay, slide that to the top of the hook where the offset is. So now you just have that little piece of the hook, that offset part inside the worm. I'm going to line it up with my thumb again. Take the hook from the bottom, go to the top of the worm, and out the top. And that's your Texas rig. To make it weedless, you're going to pull the worm forward just a little bit, and then bury the tip of the hook inside of the worm. And that's your Texas rig. So go out there, try this. We're going to take it down to the lake in a little bit. Try this. It's an amazing technique. And let's see if we can get into some fish later. All right, I'm gonna do some fishing today. Excited. Got to go out last night. Did pretty well. Only caught one fish, but it was about a 4-pounder. So on my days off, I like to try to get as much time in as possible. You know, as much hours as I work in my job, it's hard to get out a lot. You know, with family time, I want to spend time with the kids all the time. So this is a really good time now that they're kind of hunkered down and I can sneak out for a couple hours. I'm going to go out and see what we can get into tonight. So I think I'm going to stay in the community tonight. I'm really lucky I live in this this community where we have a beautiful lake, one of the cleanest lakes on the East Coast. It's about 1,000 acres, spring fed. It's unbelievable. A couple ponds back here, so I like to stay back here tonight instead of having to drive somewhere. I only live like a couple blocks from a couple fishing spots. I don't live on the lake. My neighbors across the street from me do. So around here, either you have to have permission from neighbors to be able to fish their backyard, or you can fish. There's about a half-a-mile dam. You can fish the dam. And we also have a marina where you can fish as well. Last night I fished the marina. Like I said, I did pretty well there last night. Tonight I think I'm going to go check out the dam. Usually conditions mean everything. If it's kind of windy out, you'll get some chop. If it's not too windy tonight, I think I'll go do that. If not, we'll go back to the marina. We're gonna do some recording tonight and see what we get into. All right, here's the lake. It's actually looking pretty good today. That sign's been up here for a while. It's actually not too bad. I've been fishing down here for a long time. I've never run into anything, but a lot of the locals come around and say that they see wire moccasins all the time. So basically just gotta walk heavy when you're coming down, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'm gonna try a little Texas rig here. Got a 10-inch zoom on there. Seems to do pretty well at that in the summertime. We're on the dam here. It's a little deeper water, so I try to get it out there a little deeper, right on the ledge. And the Texas rig in the summer seems to be something that they kind of like. When you cast it out, let it hit the bottom, you watch your line. You'll see your line actually start. It'll be a little tight and then it'll go slack, and then you know you're on the bottom. In the summer, I kind of like to let it sit a little bit before I pull it back up again. A lot of times they'll come over, check it out, swim away, come back again, check it. Usually they'll hit it on the drop, so all you do is kind of pull out your slack, pull your rod all the way up nice and slow, and then just let it drop. Pull a little of the slack in so I can kind of see. You'll see your line kind of dip. When it dips, you know it's touching the bottom again. Summer with this weather, this water gets super warm. The bass tend to like to stay in the colder, deeper water. A lot more oxygen in that water than this. We'll come up into the shallows when it gets a little bit darker. We'll probably get that in the next hour. So for now, I'm just trying to get them right over that lip. See this water right here off of this dam, we cast out about, I don't know, 30 yards. It gets to about 30 feet deep. I kind of try to get into that and then bring it up the lip where they're all hanging out. Don't be afraid to kind of switch it up. Sometimes you want to fish it slow, sometimes you want to fish it fast. You just never know what they're hitting, so kind of try a couple different things until you get a bite. Sometimes I'll just reel my Warman real slow, and that's enough to attract them. On this 10-inch zoom I have, I'll show you when I bring it in. It's got a wiggly tail, so that gives a lot of movement. Sometimes that's just enough for them want to hit that. But normally they hit it on the drop. See your line go tight, reel on the slack, and set the hook. That wiggly tail. Sometimes when you're Texas rigging too, since you're hitting the bottom, you're going to feel some weeds. That's good. When I first started fishing, I used to always hate weeds. Weeds were like my enemy. But that's where the fish are. You know, they're predatory fish, so they're hiding in those weeds, waiting for that strike. So when you find that weed, that's really where the fish are going to be. You'll feel a little tension on your rod. It's no big deal. Reel in a little slack and give it a couple tugs. 9 times out of 10, you're going to brush off those weeds. They won't be stuck to your line anymore, especially when you're Texas rigging, because it's a weedless application where your tip of your worm is, or your tip of your hook is in the worm. When you find those weeds, that's really what you want. Go back to that. And sometimes just pulling it through those weeds is enough reaction to make them want to come and hit your worm. Don't be afraid also to switch it up. Texas rig is an amazing thing because you can put so many different soft plastics on your Texas rig. You can go worms, you can go creature baits, you can do so many different things. That's really a nice part of it.
Switch up your colors, switch up your technique, switch up your worms. I use this worm because I just know this time of year I do well on it, but that doesn't mean they're going to hit it today. And when I'm pulling it up, sometimes I just pull it up nice and slow, other times I'll do little twitches. Sometimes the twitches make the worm jump on its way up. You'll even get a hit on that. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, it's the drop. That weight on the Texas rig is going to hit the ground first, and that's going to pull your worm down. And your worm's going to fall. When it has that fall, it's going to do a spin, and it's going to represent something kind of dying and falling to the ground, and that's what they like to see. See, 9 times out of 10, that's when you're going to get your hits. It's on the drop. Sometimes it's just sitting on the ground. They'll come over, checking it out, they'll eat it right off the ground. Get some weed, just kind of give it a couple tugs like that. Believe it or not, 9 times out of 10. Put a little bit on the weight sometimes. I use a tungsten weight so I don't get hung up as much. Tungsten's a little bit more money, but I think it's worth it. You can use lead weights as well. They're just as good, they're just a little bit bigger, so they kind of tend to get hung up a little bit more, but right now I'm using a 1/8 ounce tungsten weight and a 3/0 offset worm hook. On this rod I've got 30-pound braid, and I run it to a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I have it tied on with a snell knot. You like using snell knots on the Texas rig. There we go. That's a nice fish. Nothing too big, just a little guy, but nice one on the board. It's actually a real little dink. Real little. But that's funny, look. You got a dinker, probably an 8-inch bass eating a 10-inch worm. So that'll go to show these bass, man, they'll eat big bait. Look at this little guy. That's okay. Where he is, there's other ones. That's a good sign. Not my biggest one of the year by any means. Little dinker. The worm's bigger than him. You hit it hard. Nice healthy fish. That's good. It's a good sign. Don't mind catching little ones when they fight like that. Nice healthy fish. Had nice color to it. There's more out there.
Okay, so as you can see, we only caught 1 fish today, and you know, listen, that's fishing. It's called fishing, not catching. My dad told me that when I was young, because I used to get real flustered. And you know, some days you're going to catch 1,000,000, and one day you're not going to catch any. Today we got into 1 fish, and it's summertime too, so summertime plays a lot of big role in if you're going to catch fish or not. In the summer, they get real lethargic, the fish. The water gets super warm. They don't feed as much. Spring and fall is really when fish are going to hit the most. That's that pre-spawn, that post-spawn. It's summertime right now, so for me, just getting out in the out by the lake, I know it's going to sound cliche and corny, but just to get away from the stresses of life and going out and just being outside takes your mind off of that. And if you have that escape at least once a week for a couple hours, it's really helpful. So it was nice to be out there today. We only caught 1 little fish, but at least maybe we learned a new technique today. I hope you use that Texas rig. We're going to do a lot more videos like this. Again, I'm really excited to be able to do these videos for you. It's all going to be educational. A lot of it's going to be on a budget, like I said earlier, and a lot of it's going to be from the shores. I watch YouTube all the time, and I learn a lot from all the guys on YouTube. So I just kind of wanted to take my view on fishing, because I do fish on a budget. I'm not a professional fisherman, and I don't have a boat, so I do fish a lot from the shore. And I kind of wanted to show you my view of how you can catch some fish. Again, I don't think I know everything about fishing. I learn all the time, but I do know more than I did last year, and that's because I watch videos and I kind of learn about it. So I'm sure there's somebody out there who doesn't know how to Texas rig, and hopefully after watching my video today, you put this in your repertoire and you go out and you catch more fish on it. And if there's 5 of you, like I said, who do this, that's going to make it all worth it in the long run. So I appreciate you watching. We're going to have many videos to come. I think the next couple are going to be on some knots and different things like that. working with the rods, different lines. If you have any comments, please put them below. I'll make a video out of that. So I hope you like this. Subscribe if you will, tell your friends, and we'll see you at the next one. All right, keep fishing, tight lines.